Now we're going to talk about the 4 different types of narcissists. Dr. Ramani, thanks for being back here with us.
Thanks for
This
having me.
topic is so fascinating, especially being in Los Angeles, which I feel like might be the narcissistic capital of the world.
You know what I said to someone once? I said, you want to study tortoises? Work in the Galapagos. You want to study narcissism? Live in Los Angeles.
I mean, rampant here.
Yes, it is.
I think so, at least.
Yeah.
Before we get into those 4 types, quick question. In your estimation, what percentage of the population is narcissistic?
Yeah, it's a tough one because, again, it's a trait, right? It's not like where we could actually do an interview or figure it out. It's you know, we're to hazard a guess, like people who are noticeably narcissistic, we're like, whoa, you know, put that number probably to 10 to 15%. Wow. By no means do I think it's a majority. When you think of your own friends, most of them are sane, good, empathic, kind people. But I do think that at 10 to 15%, that's a lot of people. Now, again, I'm sort of pulling that number out of the air. It's just a difficult statistic to get. Not to mention that the measurement skills we have are not very good.
Right.
Yeah.
But to think even if you're in a room of 20 people, 1 to 2 of them
easily
actually would be classified as narcissistic.
And it depends on what kind of room. Like, you know, sort of like an industry effect, I'm going 50%. You know, you're, you know, like a banker meeting or something like that. But I don't know, if you're at some sort of like a volunteer meeting, probably 1 to 2 is more
Very good
likely.
point.
Yeah.
So I was shocked to find out that there is not just a blanket term, narcissism or narcissistic. There's actually 4 different categories for this. Let's talk about those.
Yeah, if you look at the research, and this is definitely, as I've gone over the years looking at what's been written, I really do think that 4 primary types have emerged. They're sort of our classical grandiose narcissists. That's sort of like the Chanel suit of narcissism. It's the classic representation of the person who's sort of arrogant, attention-seeking, validation-seeking. Look at me, I'm so great. Don't I have a beautiful house? They don't stop to listen to anybody. Again, your garden variety grandiose narcissist, okay? Far more problematic is the malignant narcissist. This is the person who is all the things the grandiose narcissist is, lacking empathy, entitled and grandiose and big and pompous, but they're also really mean. Oh. They will do really bad things. They almost feel like they're a little bit psychopathic. They often won't even feel that bad, maybe a little bit guilty, but not really.
What do you mean they do bad things?
They will steal money from a company. They will cheat on their partner.
Oh, like really?
Things, yeah, not taking, like saying take peppermints than they should from.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking.
No,
yeah.
talking big ticket bad. And they cheat, they steal. These are your Bernie Madoff types. You know, they just great criminals. You know, and we could talk about it at some point. There's a difference between a psychopath and a narcissist. By and large, a narcissist, even a malignant narcissist, will feel a little bad about doing some things, especially feel bad if they've hurt other people in their circle. So if they do bad things, they'll be sorry they hurt their family, but they often won't really care about other victims, that kind of thing. So that's your malignant narcissist. Then there are some other types of narcissism that people don't realize and like, oh, it makes so much more sense. The key one in that one is called covert narcissism. Covert is a word that means secret, really. So a covert narcissist is somebody who is very sort of by the world, but they're still grandiose. So they'll say things like, yeah, like really great photographer, but the world never really noticed my greatness. I guess I just came up at the wrong time. And all these cameras you guys use now, it's easy now, but back when I was taking pictures, I could have been one of the great ones.
Is a covert narcissist older?
They can be, but not necessarily.
Okay.
They often feel like life done them wrong. They can be quite passive aggressive. You know, they're that person. They always feel depressed. And in fact, more than a few of us will initially think the covert narcissist has depression and will treat them for depression. Well, like, this is not getting better and it has been 10 months. Even if they're on meds by now, something should have happened.
So someone who has been classified as a covert narcissist and then treated for depression will not show improvement?
If they're depressed, they'll show some improvement in their depression, but they'll still walk around like, woe is me. Wow. Why doesn't anyone see how great I am? I do so many great things for the world, and I guess it wasn't my time. And you know, be very vulnerable. If somebody said, they're very hypersensitive to criticism, so if somebody says, yeah, those are good, but we're not going to be able to hang them up in our gallery, What? They'll throw a tantrum. They'll become really cold. They'll become distant. No, I'm not coming to your gallery opening. My pictures weren't good enough for you. That's the covert narcissist.
Kind of like, I'm not fired, I quit.
Yes, exactly. They really do feel like the world never got their greatness.
Wow.
That's the covert narcissist.
Yeah, there's a lot of those in Los Angeles.
A lot of that. And then that often gets missed as, well, no, they're not even that confident. I'm like, no, listen, really. It's always like, nobody gets how great I am.
So I know there's a fourth one, but before we go into that, let's dive into that. How would I know, as I'm not a clinical, psychologist, I know if my friend or this person needs confidence, needs a boost, or if they're a covert narcissist?
Look at how victim-y they feel. You know, no me, or nobody gets how great I am. It's because it's always in a sense of it's nobody quite gets their excellence. There's sort of an arrogance to them versus a person who really is like, nah, I do a good job on this pie. I know I could do better. Let me give it another shot. So there's almost like this sense of efficacy, the word that means like, I'm going to give it a try. I recognize what I did wrong. They often won't take ownership. The covert narcissist will say, I see what my part was in this. I see why it didn't go right. The covert narcissist will blame the world.
They'll very say, clear.
That is to blame for why I did not succeed.
All right, what is our fourth type?
The fourth one is a fascinating one. I read an article about this and I was like, rarely articles get you as excited as I'm running around the university saying, you gotta read this.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
It's called the communal narcissist.
Communal.
Communal. Narcissist is that person, for example, all over their social media feed is like, off to the homeless today, but they're like really well up, or like, it's Dog Thursday, and they're always out there trying to save the world. They go to gala to benefits and they write big checks, but they need a lot of recognition. They need a lot of like, can we name this after you? Can we name that after you? And they walk around saying, look at all the good things I do. Like they'll have a website with them holding like children in regions of the world, but like they're always really well put together and they talk about it a lot. Like, look at greatness. I'm all about giving back. And that's your communal narcissist, because what you will see is a tremendous lack of empathy for the so-called people they're trying to help, and in essence, sometimes even a grandiosity, like I'm above things I'm rescuing, helping, give me oh so much recognition, and they seek a lot of validation for all their good works.
Oh, I know watching right now are going, I know that person, and if you're not, maybe you are that person. But like, I know that person. I was some really great advice by somebody out here in Los Angeles, and he said, in a group of people, he said, you need to go volunteer. You need to go do something for somebody and not tell anybody that you did it.
That's it.
Just do it because it's the right thing to do.
Well, I often say do good quietly.
Yeah. Now, did you mention earlier off camera something about stealth narcissism?
Well, the stealth narcissism is almost more of that covert narcissism. Okay. Like you don't, and this is where people get confused by it, because they'll say, I kind of feel bad, girl or guy, so I'm sticking it out. I just don't think they have much confidence. I kind of feel bad. God, every day is woe, it's me.
So that's the interchangeable.
The thing the covert narcissist will do in a relationship, for example, is like, yeah, it must be she got that promotion. Like, I'm happy for you. Well, I've been working at this for years. It must be a lot easier to get ahead in your job.
Wow. Really fascinating. Okay. Now, in our video, when we were talking about how to spot the signs of a narcissist, you really use pronouns he, his, him a lot, okay? Are men likely to be narcissists than women?
They are.
So why is that?
The statistics have always been very clear on that. It's much more prevalent in men. If I were to take all the narcissists in the world, my guess would be 80-20. Wow. That's changing. That's changing. Say, this is one of those times women are going to break this glass ceiling, and they're catching
the narcissist glass ceiling.
Yeah, but it's more men. Part of that is socialization. Men, even as boys, are not taught to talk about their emotions as much, to not be as tuned into that. Empathy, compassion, vulnerability, these things are not valued in boys and they're not valued in men, and those are often the core of character. And so we tell boys, ignore those feelings, toughen up, and so that toughen upness can turn into things like a lack of empathy. And so men are also very measured on their achievements, being a provider, making lots of money, having a big title, having a big house. And so those kinds of drives, which are definitely pushed more for men, more valued in men, those are, again, are very superficial drives. And so as a result, they're going to be more manifested in men, which again can make that greater vulnerability to being more narcissistic. We just tolerate it more. If a woman behaves in a narcissistic way, she's often checked early in the game. Whereas if a boy or a man behaves that way, he's not called out.
Would you even say maybe they're applauded?
Oh, not only are they applauded, there are CEOs, there are world leaders, they are our celebrities, they are our athletes, they are our music stars. You better believe it. In fact, if I wrote a book on narcissism, it becomes a how-to guide for how to achieve in the New World Order.
That is a huge, huge statement.
Yeah, it's true.
It's true. If you wrote a book about narcissism, it would be the how-to guide on how to succeed in the New World Order.
Yes. In business and in wealth accumulation, yes. In your interpersonal life, absolutely not.
Yeah. I want to very quickly about the mental health implications of leaning into that narcissism for success. What does that do to somebody's internal mental health?
I don't think you can fake narcissism. I think you can fake it for a minute. I often talked about, in fact, in my second book, I did talk about this concept of acquired narcissism or acquired entitlement. And by that I meant, if you're incredibly wealthy, you're very used to the world running on your schedule. You have a team of assistants, people picking you up in cars, you don't wait in lines. The world really works smoothly for you, if you will. What can happen is then when they go back to normal life, like they're with their people from their past, they may have that very kind of like quick do that. Someone will say, slow down, sister. I am not your assistant. And they'll often be like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And they'll be genuinely ashen at that. So I do think that they're not narcissistic per se. They're just sort of used to running through the world in that way. But if they said, oh no, you will do what I said, I am that important, then they're probably narcissistic.
Got it.
So that idea of faking narcissism to get ahead, I don't think most of us can do it. I'll even give a personal example. I remember way when I finished college, I tried to get into a job in the financial services sector at Wall Street kind of a company. I bombed, forget the first date, the first hour. I'm like, oh, all you guys do is make money. They're like, yeah. I'm like, no, what about their feelings? They're like, we don't talk about here. So literally, I got the job. It was 9:05 a.m. I realized I'd made a mistake. By noon, I realized they were like, all right, we're just gonna keep you around doing some clerical work. And I started using their computers to apply for a job in psychology. I mean, I in the desert, I'm like, let me give water, you're thirsty, it's hot, honey. Course, like, that's me. Just, I'm me and not a, CEO. Never would have what it takes. Most of us don't.
Well, you did find exactly what you were supposed to do.
I love what I do, but it doesn't, again, it doesn't pay well. We place in the world, but unfortunately, we do live in a very materialistic and consumerist society. And as long as that's the case, narcissism is going to win because it's about putting yourself first and not really caring as much about others.
Yeah.
And so those are the people who are always going to get to the head of the line. And so can some people turn it on and off? Probably not. Like if you're narcissistic, it sort of bleeds into other areas of your life. And people say, well, then do they even have friends? Some people cut them a lot of slack. I think that the great narcissist get away with murder catchphrases, that's just how he is. And that's why they get away with a lot. Not to mention that they can sometimes be very generous when it's going to get them what they need. So they may buy everyone big dinners and take everyone on big vacations. So it creates this illusion that there's lots of people around them. I'm not so sure those people will be around just on the basis of how they treat them. It's all the stuff they're making possible for them. It's like narcissists often have houses. They're there for the waves, not for his personality.
What do you guys think? Which one of this type did you guys encountered? Please leave your comment below. We would love to hear from you.
Thank you for making it this far. If you like this video, you might want to share it with a like-minded friend. Thank you, and as always, stay blessed.